Hello.
Hey,
What's cracking?
I'm ready to watch a movie.
I'm always ready to watch a movie with you, especially when we're doing our Another Picture Show podcast.
Hell yeah, that's what this is.
That is what this is.
What are the chances of that?
I just love how life works out.
Yeah,
You know?
real convenient. So, I'm Olivia,
And I'm Madeline.
and this is Another Picture Show podcast where we watch movies. And most of the time, Madeline has not seen them. So,
Yes.
I'm going to tell her what movie we watch each week. We go watch them, and we come back and give our hot takes and big thoughts.
Hot takes and big thoughts. I love that.
That's the new slogan. Hot takes and big thoughts.
I want that. I want that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
Hot takes and big thoughts.
Anyways, are you ready to find out what we're watching this week?
Absolutely. Positively.
All right, so I thought we could watch a kind of new movie that I'm not sure if you've seen yet or not, but it's recently come into the pop culture sphere and has been making a lot of noise, and it's kind of getting some award buzz, which is kind of controversial. So I wanted to see what your thoughts were. So this week I was thinking we could watch I Care a Lot.
Okay. I started watching that movie. I have not finished it.
Yes.
So I guess like half and half, like half I've seen it, half I haven't. So
Perfect.
yeah, interesting. Interesting that it's controversial so far because I've only, like I said, seen the first half of the movie.
It's one of those movies that's like either you love it or you hate it. I feel like I haven't found a lot of in between. So I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are.
Okay.
And I think it'll make a really fun conversation. So
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
yeah.
Like,
What did you think of the part that you did watch?
So far, I kind of just don't care. Like, I don't get it.
Ironic, huh?
I don't care a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love, is it Rosamund Pike?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I love her as an actress. But yeah, I'm just kind of like, because like, it's one of those movies where you're like, who are you rooting for,
Mm-hmm.
Because like, Peter Dinklage is like obviously not a good person, but like this is his mother we're talking about, so you're like, I'm kind of on his side, but then you're like, but he's a bad person, and like I love Rosamund Pike, so like I'm also kind of on her side. It's like one of those like iffy morals kind of movies. So far I'm like, why am I watching this?
Yeah. And for just heads up, this is going to be a spoiler podcast. So when we come back with our review, we're going to get right into it with spoilers and all that. So if you're not interested in hearing that, then go away.
Then why are you here?
All right.
Just kidding. We love everybody who listens.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your support.
So
like it's a spoiler podcast.
So with that, are you ready to go watch the movie?
I am heckin' ready to finish the last half of this movie.
All right, sweet. Okay, so with that, we'll be back with our review of I Care a Lot in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. I guess let me start with our quick synopsis or run through, what have you, and then we'll get into our thoughts, because I've been real excited to talk about this with you, and I'm sure you have thoughts.
I'm like gnawing on my lip right now because I'm trying to hold back words.
All right, so I Care a Lot is a 2020 American Black comedy thriller written and directed by Jonathan Blakeson. I think it's his first film. The film stars Rosamund Pike, Peter Dinklage, Isa Gonzalez, Chris Messina, and Diane Weist. The film portrays a poised and shark-like Marla Grayson, Academy Award nominee Rosamund Pike, as a professional court-appointed guardian for dozens of elderly wards whose assets she seizes and cunningly bilks through dubious but legal means. It's a well-oiled racket that Marla and her business partner and lover, Fran, played by Isa Gonzalez, used with brutal efficiency on their latest cherry, Jennifer Peterson, a wealthy retiree with no living heirs or family. But their mark turns out to have an equally shady secret of her own and connections to a volatile gangster. All right, Madeline, give me your just initial quick thoughts on I Care a Lot.
I didn't care. I just didn't like this movie. The only two things I loved about this movie, actually three things. First is Rosamund Pike's performance, but mostly the performance of all of her outfits. She was on fire as far as looks are concerned. Second, I loved the actress who played Fran. I thought she was great. Their chemistry was great. Third, I loved Peter Dinklage's like Bieber bangs, and that's all I liked about this movie.
His
Everything
little
else,
half bun or
his
whatever.
little half bun, his little side bang, like emo, I don't know, circa 2009 look. Everything else about this movie just did not do it for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think this might be the first movie that we do that we have very differing opinions on because
Really?
yeah. And I know that it's like not a popular take because in doing research, I realized that not a lot of people like this movie. Critics like this movie, like film people like this movie, but most audiences don't. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 81%, like 81% score, but the audience score is like 32 or something.
Oh, I was gonna say 81
So
is pretty good.
yeah,
That's really good, actually.
yeah. So it's just critics like this movie, but people watching it in their homes, just casually viewing
Yeah.
something on Netflix, don't. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's a great movie, but I did enjoy it. I've watched it like 3 times now, and
Mhm.
I think I just had a lot of fun the first time I watched it. And since, because I was kind of vibing, like I understood what they were going for, and I was kind of like, cool. And I think I told you before at some point that I was getting really heavy like Uncut Gems vibes from this movie, like kind of beat
Yeah,
Uncut
yes.
Gems.
Once now when I finish, so I can't, this was a movie I literally just watched in chunks. Like I kind of felt like your dad where like every
Yeah.
30 minutes I stopped and I did
Yeah.
something else.
Uh-huh.
So I finally finished it today, and the again, this is a spoiler. This is a spoiler show. So like when she got shot, yeah, definitely I was like, okay, I see the uncut gems like elements. Also, kind of like the stress and the like what the hell is happening.
Kind of just like her like she's just stupid. I mean, like, okay, that's like a
No,
throwaway way to
but she like,
describe it, but she's like an adrenaline junkie, just kind of
yeah.
like Adam Sandler's character was in Uncut Gems. She's kind of gambling her luck to
She's reckless.
yeah, she's reckless and she gambles her luck to the extreme, just like he did, and like beat for beat, that's kind of like what I was getting as I was watching it the first time, and I was like, all right, I see, like they're doing that, but with like a girl boss,
Yeah.
like so.
And like a less sad boss because like
Yeah, I
Adam
wasn't
Sandler
as
like,
anxious watching this movie as I was on Cut Gems.
oh no,
But
Uncut Gems, like literally I almost peed my pants watching that movie because I was terrified, but I was also gripped.
I had thought that we would eventually do that movie on this podcast, but I can't bring myself to watch it again because it just makes me too anxious. So we'll settle for this one. It's like
Yeah, well,
kind
and make the comparisons along the way. That'll
yes,
be
exactly.
our nod to Uncut Gems.
Mhm.
Um, why do you like this movie?
Um,
That's not an
I
accusation.
don't think it's as I don't think it's as like infuriating, or the reasons that people find it infuriating that I've been able to see um didn't didn't bother me. Like I people complain that it's like glorifying uh the girl boss, or like the movie's too in love with its main character, or they're just mad because there wasn't anyone to root for because everyone kind of sucks in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And one, I don't think that's a problem if you don't have like a likable protagonist. That happens all the time, in
Yeah.
many movies, and that's like, get over it. I don't know. Like that's what the
Yeah.
movie's about.
No,
um,
I agree.
uh, the people claiming that it's a movie that is pretentious and like you're not supposed to like the main character, but it's like um, relishing in the wickedness of the character, I think is part of the aesthetic of the movie. And we can talk about that
Mhm.
later. And I really like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I like what they're going for here. I like the like candy quality that it has in portraying this like really wicked, corrupt person
Mhm.
and the things that happen. Um, I don't know. I just thought it was fun. Like, it's not a good, it's not, I'm not going to say it's like a top for me or anything. Like, it definitely has its flaws. I definitely think it kind of lost itself at some point, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And the things that seemed to bother everyone else didn't really bother me, if that makes sense.
So what you're saying, like the popular like critiques of the film, I don't really I don't have an issue with. Like
Yeah.
I don't care that like she's like mecha wicked and like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
nobody in this movie is a good person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Like yeah, obviously nobody in this movie is a good person. If you think you found a good person in this movie, you're wrong. Um what I did like was kind of its how it demonstrates how you can twist like the legal system to very evil means, and like
Mm-hmm.
that's done all the time, and this is just like one very narrow example of how everything Marla did is legal as far as like
Yeah.
obtaining the assets, getting the well, okay. The one thing that wasn't legal was like, paying off the doctor to be like, oh,
Yeah.
Miss Peterson has like super dementia. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, she just forgot her purse or, whatever. She came back into the office because she forgot her purse. And now you've diagnosed her with super dementia and she's in a facility. Like that is insane.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like the rest of the legal notions that, allowed her to like seize capital, seize like assets, like it's unbelievable like how like that happens every day in America and like so many people get away with that. So that I liked. What I did not like, what I did not like kind of was like the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
Like once she and Peter Dinklage like came face to face, or sorry, I started disliking it even before then, like when they broke into the home to like steal the lady and then they got caught. They the three guys,
Oh yeah.
Alexi and then Chad and
Mm-hmm.
the other guy, they come in, they like pull out their guns, bust open, break out Jennifer. Um when they got caught and sent to jail, like I don't know, I was starting to feel it felt kind of a little cheap to me
Yeah.
because it is like my issue is like how could yes, she's a shark, she's a bad bitch. She's, evil essentially. Like she's taking advantage of poor old people and does not like literally bleeding them dry and does not give a fuck when they like turn to dust and die, like
Mm-hmm.
that's horrible. She's a horrible person. But what pissed me off was like not so much like, oh, the character's in love, like the movie is in love with the character, like the filmmakers love the character too much, whatever. It was just the fact that she could pull this shit off. Like she was somehow able to like, punch this guy in the stomach, put the bag over his head, make sure he got arrested. Then she
Yeah.
like
That was that.
tasered the shit
Yeah.
out of like the driver, tasered the shit out of this massive security guard, stabbed Dinklage with a freaking um, sedative,
Mm.
made his ass naked, almost overdosed him, like did all this crazy shit. I'm like, and then sorry, I'm like speechless at how annoyed I am about this. And then Peter Dinklage is like, all jokes aside, you're a bad bitch. Let's
Yeah.
partner up. That alone made me so mad. Like the partnering, like it,
Mm.
it made sense as far as like that was her next step. Like that was her next like elevation. But I kind of wish she had like accomplished it like without Peter Dinklage or more as like at his like he was at her mercy more. Like
Mm.
it was more like I'm going to take everything and I'm going to make this empire and like I'll let you live comfort. Like like she kind of
Yeah.
like turns the tables where it's like, I'll let you live and I'm gonna do all this shit on my own. That would have been way more cool to me. Like that would have been like, oh fuck, like she really can pull, like all that dumb shit she did, like the stabbings, like or the tasing and like whatever, leading to a partnership with Peter Dinklage. Boo, boring. Next, thank you, but no thank you. But if she had been like, okay, Petey, like I'm gonna keep you in this ward forever and I'm going to create a multi-billion-dollar business with all the assets that I attain from you, have fun, you know.
Mhm.
I'll send you a card on your birthday, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I
All
think
that shit like made me mad.
I think like I said, I think part of the movie kind of loses itself around that point, like after the home break-in situation, and they have to
Yes.
like go into hiding and whatnot. Like,
And they go into hiding in such an obvious place. Like you don't think they didn't think of fucking pulling your records and looking at, you know, properties that you haven't sold yet that you attained from other clients. Like, come on, give me a break. I'm very into the details. Like when she said that, when she was asking for the list, I was like, that's your plan, bitch? Like you're not gonna even try like an Airbnb? No, I'm kidding.
well, to be
You're
fair, they were kind of incompetent Russian mobsters all the
I
way
know they
through.
really sucked. Like they were
All the
really
way
bad.
through. Like they sucked at getting her out. They just like, tased the doctor man in the middle of the hallway. Like didn't make sure that no one would come out and see them. Like
Yeah.
they had obviously like given, people had seen them and
Mm-hmm.
said who they were there to see. And then they just, both henchmen were out for the count within like 2 seconds of anything going wrong. And
Yeah.
Marla could put a bag over his head and that's it. That's
Yeah. I
he's
mean,
out for the count.
I can respect that aspect where like they were dumb, so like it was more plausible, but like the rest of it did kind of like rub me
No,
the
I mean,
wrong
but
way.
even like Peter Dinklage, they weren't able to successfully assassinate two women that they had like hits out on, like both Fran and Marla.
But
Both
it
of
was
them
almost
survived.
it was
And
almost too convenient that like she rolled up right before. I get it, it's a movie, but like she rolled up right before the house blew up. Like she was able to get Fran out right before something ignited the gas and like the apartment blew up. You
did
know,
she turn on the thing or did she turn it off? I
she
was
turned it
confused.
off. I thought she turned it on for a second, and I was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" She turned it off,
Okay.
and then as she was driving away, like it exploded, and she was like, "Holy shit!" Like
Hmm.
because they just escaped. So like that part again, it's like it's a movie, so I'm like, okay, you know, like it has to work that way, but I'm still mad about it.
I think I enjoyed the cat and mouse-ness of this
Mhm.
movie, but I don't think it fully went there. Like there wasn't a lot of like outwitting each other as much as there could have been. It was kind of just like he got lucky because she was able to get out of the car, that was drowning.
Yeah.
like it was all kind of just luck. Yeah, but there wasn't as much of the, you know, back and forth outwitting each other,
Hmm.
kind of trying to come out on top of the situation as I think there could have been, which I think would have made the last third of the movie a lot more enjoyable for people.
Hmm. I
Um,
liked. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, I just think the movie was entertaining and it was fun, and like I totally understand that critique because I agree. Like there are some things that I'm just like, nah, okay, but overall, I thought the what it was trying to critique, socially, I was like, yeah, that's good that you're doing that. I thought it was
Hmm.
clever that she's this like lesbian boss bitch that's like, taking advantage of capitalism.
Yeah.
Everyone, says that you should, and then,
Yeah.
she is still the villain. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting take on it that we don't see often.
Right.
Because we see a
Yeah, and
lot of
I
movies
did
like
like
this, like with men, that
mhm,
nobody's like, meh.
yeah. I did like when she became his guardian though. I thought that was funny. Like when
Yeah.
she rolls up and she's like, "Hey boo boo, like check out this form. You're my bitch now." Like I thought that was good. And that's when I wanted it to be like I have all the power, but then Peter Dinklage was like, "Whoa, let's become friends." And then I was like, "Ugh."
Yeah, if she had said no and then
And then just
stole
yeah,
his money and then we got the
destroyed
ending
him.
that we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been so good. I would have liked it. I would have liked this movie if that had happened, but it didn't. So
Because then
I'm not
she
like
is
I'm not
like
like
truly like the ruthless
mm,
entrepreneur that she is. I don't even know if that's like how you would describe her, but you know, then she's like, yeah, really, like you're weaker than me.
yeah. Like
So
you're
my
not as bad
success.
as you're not as bad as you think you are. Like let me prove it, and I'm gonna run this show by myself
But then
forever.
ultimately is still taken out by like
And
a
that like
patriarchal asshole,
yeah.
like
So that ending. Okay, I'm glad she got her just desserts.
mhm.
Um, but hated how that happened
Yeah,
because ugh, it would have. What would have been great is if that guy was hired by Dinklage to take her out. Like
true.
he never actually trusted her. He like literally bid his time and just assassinated her. That would have been amazing.
If we
Like
saw like a little snippet of like
a little snippet
him
of him like
meeting up with
getting
this
like
guy,
a yeah,
he knew
getting
that
like
he had like tried to, had some issues with the same nursing home before
mhm.
because of Marla.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would have yeah, any way you twist it, just like a tiny little bit of context that would add so much flavor to the ending.
Yeah, because I mean they could have spared like 2 minutes, if even that long, to just be like, this woman's been in like or like they explain like this woman had been in the care of Marla since before she started this empire. Like this woman was like one of her original people and finally died. And then he was so distraught because like, it had been 10 years or whatever since he'd seen his mother and like outraged. Also, like, don't make him look like a Trump supporter. I don't know. That like also annoyed me. I
Why?
mean, okay, I get like the symbolism, blah blah, but like still I was like, kind of obvious. And then like he shot her. You know what I mean? Like I was like, gun violence, Trump supporting looking dude, like, you
I mean,
know.
I think it like I know what you mean. It's very on the nose, but
Yeah.
I think I think it adds to the like wokeness of Marla's character. Like
Mhm.
she's supposed to be on the liberal side, the good side, right? Because
Right.
she's the opposite of that guy, but
Yeah.
she's still bad.
Mhm.
And I appreciated that. But yeah, I agree. It was a little on the nose. We could probably do without the red hat and like understand
Yeah.
understand
Like
who
it
he
was it was
is.
a caricature of a like Trump supporter poster child.
Mhm. Let's go into detail about what you think about the performances in this movie.
Oh my god. So I all the performances, like I understand why like Rosamund Pike won a Golden Globe for the movie. Like everyone did a really, really good job. Like
Mhm.
even the guy that played Alexei, like he was so funny. Like he was perfect.
He was
Like
kind of like
because he's that
sniveling and
perfect,
dumb.
like sinister but like stupid. Like I definitely got like a hyenas from Lion King out of him, like where he's like, I will kill you, but I'm dumb. So like you could take advantage of that. And they
Mhm.
did. Rosamund and what's the name of the actress who played Fran?
Aza.
Asa. Their chemistry was great. And I loved their kind of dynamic, like they're partners, they're equals, but you know, they kind of need each other. Like Marla, yeah, she's the brain, the broad, but Fran has all the connections. Like she's the one that's like getting, the police inside, the doctors, the whoever.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure she probably called her that fucking dentist in the middle of the night, was like, here's the number of a dentist I know who will take care of your teeth. I know the guy who can fence the diamonds. Like she has all the connections. So I liked their performances. Peter Dinklage was like of course, you know, like he's in Game of Thrones. Like he's a phenomenal actor in Game of Thrones. So seeing him in this was like really funny, just
Hmm.
considering like what he became massively famous for versus like Bieber hair, um, being a mafia like mobster.
Hmm.
But he did a good job. He balanced it well. I just think everybody in the movie did a great job. I can't even begin to really criticize anybody.
Yeah. Have you seen Gone Girl?
I have seen Gone Girl, and I
Okay.
think Rosamund did better in Gone Girl than she did in this movie.
They were just two different sides of the same coin, you know?
Hmm.
Like if her character in Gone Girl was a professional, I feel like they're very like the same side of the same coin, you know?
Yeah. Rosamund
Um,
plays that character very well.
yes, she's very good at being cold, calculating, and wicked.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It's fun. It's a very fun because like she's
But
so
in like a
sweet in real
sexy
life.
way.
Yeah, like she's such a sweet person in real life, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And it's a fun transformation.
Yeah,
I think she did a
definitely.
great job. I agree. Peter Dinklage is just fun whenever he's in anything.
Because he's so good. He's just so like you know he was into that role. Oh, it was like the last scene
He's
when
always eating too, which I
I
love.
know. Or like, oh my god, this scene where where Alexi goes in and he's doing like the gymnastics rings. I was like, that was the point where I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Oh my gosh, and he's like so calm, but then like just like snaps and just starts throwing shit. So good. Like the scene, the very last scene he's in where they're bringing the mom, they're bringing Diane Weiss out of the home and into the car, and he's like got the fucking macaroons or whatever and is crying. I was like, stop, like this is brilliant. And she's like, come here, baby, and he's like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
So good.
I want to kind of talk about one of the critiques that I've been seeing about the like this movie is just, you know, turning the villain into a girl boss and how like the girl boss trope is being used in this movie. Like do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't care. Thought over.
Well, what do you think it's like trying to say, I
I
guess, about
think
that trope?
I think people are trying to like continue to glorify like girl boss, which
Mhm.
is again, I don't care. Like it's like I care about like girl boss movies, like yeah, yay, like representation, awesome. Sincerely, that sounds very insincere when I say it, but I mean it. You know, there has to be more movies that show like younger girls like that, you know, standing up for yourself, taking saying no and like meaning it, or you know, overcoming adversity are important. But at the same time, you can't expect people to not want to see like a girl boss who's like also a bad like who's also like a baddie
Well, I think
succeed.
that's like what is your definition of a girl boss? Because I think in this movie, it's like a critique on capitalism and people taking advantage of the systems like that are already in place under capitalism and like just because you're a woman or you know LGBTQ or whatever succeeding in that system as a girl boss and the you know idea of whatever that means like isn't something that you should want.
Well, I think as far as I don't have like a solid definition of a girl boss. I forgot to do my vocabulary flat sheet before we started. But what I'm trying to get at, and I'm not sure if this really makes any sense, is like well, not everyone, but people are behind a girl boss until she becomes like a Bond villain, basically,
Mm.
where it's like, oh, it was all fun and games until she started like pulling all the same shots that like your typical Bond villain would do, like using the system against like others. You know what I mean? Like taking advantage of the system. And I'm not saying that she's a good person. She's not. But I feel like people are like, oh, she's basically like turning, I don't know, turning the girl boss trope into like sullying its good name or something like that. I don't know. And I'm like, you can be a girl boss, which is like you can be a strong, independent, bad bitch, run your shit, get things done, and still be evil.
Mhm.
There's I think the girl boss definition is like you are strictly independent. You run your shit. You don't need to rely on anybody else. You know, you've had to overcome like certain obstacles, whatever. And then it becomes like, yeah, you're a girl boss, and then it becomes like good girl boss, evil girl boss. Like, regardless of like your opinions of like capitalism or whatnot, like good intentions, bad intentions. I want to take advantage of people and make a lot of money. I want to, support this cause and like, promote this. Like
Mhm.
there's that fork in the road. And I feel like people are like, yes, I love this left fork where it's supporting the cause, and I love to see that represented in the media. But once this right fork shows up, or this incorrect fork, this evil fork shows up and is like, this is possible, people are like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah.
that's not the girl boss we know and love.
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up. They're real. These women are out there. These people
That's
are out
that's
there.
the like, we want more women CEOs kind of thing, but it's like, okay, well, women CEOs still exploit people. Like
Yeah.
that's part of the job. So, do you really want that, or, do you want something that's more good for everyone? Not just the girl
Yeah.
boss. And
Exactly.
that's what this movie I think is pointing out. And people don't like to see it.
Those who are criticizing bad, evil girl bosses can just shut the fuck up. I don't know. End of thought.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of pointing the finger at the the woke police, if you will, if I can quote
Mhm.
Chris Harrison for a second.
Ooh,
I
spicy.
don't want to quote anything else, but that's what I'll pull, the woke police, kind of pointing the finger at people who watch this movie, seeing like a white LGBTQ person succeeding in a movie, but then like she's why I want to be able to root for her because like she's all the things that like Yas Queen, that's
Yeah.
what we want, but
Icon.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, like people on the left can be assholes too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know if she would be, as a character would be on the left, but like the things that she represents are things that people on the left support,
Mhm.
um, to an extent. But yeah, I thought it was funny. I was like, yeah. And kind of the use of like white feminism in the movie, and like she is
Mhm.
the epitome of that. She's
Yeah.
conventionally attractive, got the super straight like blonde bob with the yellow suits, like looking great, has a super hot girlfriend, like partner,
Stupid
whatever,
hot
like
girlfriend.
stupid hot.
Stupid hot. Aggressively hot. Anyway,
Mm-hmm. um
who said that?
Anyways, yeah, like has all the things that are associated with like femininity.
Mhm.
um I don't even know where I was going. I got distracted by the super hot girlfriend.
You lost me at super hot
Yeah.
girlfriend. I stayed
Anyways,
at that
you want to finish
station.
my thought for me, Madeline? I don't even know what I was saying.
Well, you were saying about she's like basically like the poster child of a white feminist where
Mm-hmm.
she essentially, I don't want to say exploits her femininity. I hate that word. Love it, but I hate it. You know what I mean? I don't want to say she exploits it, but she definitely like turns the volume all the way up
Mm-hmm.
and is therefore, able to get away with more than like somebody who's like a woman who's not white, who's less feminine, who,
Mm-hmm.
isn't, cisgender, whatever, like there's certain like layers of privilege that she's climbing up on top of in order to like become a CEO billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for finishing my point.
You're welcome. How is your stay in hot girlfriend station?
Sorry. Anyways,
She's blushing.
I I wanted to talk also kind of about the we talked about it a little bit, the like unredeemable characters in a movie, and like do we need that in order to enjoy a movie fully? How did you think it was used in this movie? Was it used well?
Okay. I liked it because they were two different kinds of like evil people. Like one, but they're like also, but then, as it turned out, they're kind of one and the same. Like they wanted the same thing, which was like a fuck ton of mad money that they could swing around and do whatever the hell they wanted with. Like it didn't matter. Like they could wake up and want to like create a country and they could do it. That's like kind of money that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they came essentially from like different ends of like the evil spectrum, which is like a circle, by the way. There are many directions you can go and become evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal philosophy. But one was like using legal means to exploit people. One was very much doing illegal things like drug smuggling, human smuggling, probably weapons shit, like, mafia shit, like
But he just wanted to
trans.
save his mom
Yeah, shut
being
the fuck up.
kidnapped.
He's the mastermind behind a massive transnational organized
He
crime.
just wanted to bring his mom some donuts or whatever.
Yeah, he just a friggin' eclair for his mom or whatever. Yeah, right. Give me a break. There was probably like crystal meth in that, and he was like, pass this around to the residents. Um, they meet in the middle at this like nexus of like, what does every evil person want? And technically, no, not every evil person wants the same thing, but like in this category of like extreme wealth hunting, they met at the point where they're like, we can benefit from each other. And not to get all nerdy, but it was like kind of like a Thucydides trap situation where like, oh god, okay.
Over my head.
All right, so Thucydides trap very basically is like there is an existing power. So say for example, Athens, ancient Greece, Athens. This is where Thucydides trap came from. And then Sparta was like rapidly on the rise. Like Athens had always had power, had always maintained like its power for hundreds of years, whatever. Sparta comes along and they're coming up quick. They are making moves, they're gaining ground, they're fucking wrecking it. Athens, once Sparta and Athens meet at the same point of like, at the same level of power, that is when war breaks out.
Mm.
So like the Thucydides trap is like whether or not war will happen once an existing power and a rising power like cross each other as far as like, power and capability.
Mm.
So in this situation, I forget Peter Dinklage's character's name, but he is the existing power, and Marla's like booking it on the rise. And this Thucydides trap moment was when she snatched his mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she became a legitimate threat, or even more so, like, no, it would be more like the point, the intersection of their power, I guess, would have been when she had him in the hospital and was like, "What now?" Like
Mm-hmm.
I can prove myself. And it can either go to war, which it like kind of had started to, or it can go to something else where the power surpasses, the rising power does end up surpassing the existing power. And that's what I wanted. I think in my head, I was like, I want this like alternate reality of Thucydides trap to work out. And I mean, like, poli-sci majors, come fucking at me. I'm not like 100% accurate with this shit, but like, I have a master's degree. This is one thing I have a degree in.
I know nothing, so I'm just taking, everything you say as fact. So
yes, dogs can fly. They go to heaven. But I do have a master's degree that talked about this, so I kind of know what I'm going at. But sorry to go on this rant. It's just like it made me mad that like they met at this nexus and then they were just like pew, like off in the same direction, I should say.
Yeah.
Like that was I'm like, that's not how it works.
Mm.
Partnerships like that, like you can like watch any mafia movie, partnerships like that do not work for long. And so
there's
that's
no reason for, anyone to trust each other. Like there's too much, like, you tried to murder me and my girlfriend, you left me naked in the middle of the street and like kidnapped my mom.
Yeah.
Like,
there's too much bad blood.
Yeah, no.
One was going to take out the other. And that's especially why I wanted the dude who killed her to have some tie to Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to your question about no redeemable characters. I loved it, but the direction the movie took it made me upset.
That's fair. Because I think the difference between this and Uncut Gems, which is, we're bringing it back.
Got to.
is that you think he's out, like in Uncut Gems. Spoilers for Uncut Gems right
Mhm.
now. You think he's made it out, but really, like if you're paying attention, you know that there's no way he can actually
No.
be out.
Mhm.
So you're just like on edge the whole time, like, why am I rooting for him? He's so stupid and like an awful person, and like there's no reason for you to root for him. It's just the
Mhm.
movie is so like the rhythm of it, and you just love Adam Sandler, so you just have to go with it. Like
Mhm.
everything is working against you, like forcing you to like root for this character even though there's no reason for you to. And then when he gets his comeuppance, you're kind of like, oh my god, like like you're just
You had
kind
that
of in
moment
shock.
where you're like, yeah, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, that kind of made sense
like
though.
you're like your breath is taken away for a second, but then when you leave the theater, you're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like it's just masterful filmmaking and
Yeah.
storytelling with a very, very unlikable antagonist, I guess,
Mhm.
protagonist, anti-hero, whatever you want to say. In
Yeah.
this case, it's a really like diluted version of that to where
Mhm.
it doesn't keep you gripped enough in Marla's story for you to like actually care that anything happens to her, you know?
Mhm.
The stakes aren't fully defined. Like Peter Dinklage and his goons are like kind of incompetent and have
Mhm.
been thus far. So like they failed to get his mom out, and that's the only real time we've seen them in action. So
Mhm.
when like she's thrown in the lake with like an hour left in the movie, she's going to be fine. Like this,
Yeah.
so like I think it's kind of a rhythm thing, and just some choices that they made with like the stakes that
Mhm.
didn't really keep people invested. Because you can do like, have you ever seen Nightcrawler?
No.
Okay, well that's another movie we're gonna do on this podcast.
Okay.
But that's another movie with like a really really unlikable character as the lead. Um, and you don't necessarily root for him throughout the whole movie, but it's kind of the same thing. Like you care what happens
Yeah.
because you're invested in what he's doing.
Right.
Not necessarily that you want him to succeed, but you're like in this weird like place within yourself being like, I care about him and what he's doing, but I'm also disgusted and horrified by him because he's a sociopath, and like what does it say about me and why I care? Whereas
Yeah.
this movie doesn't quite get there.
Interesting. Yeah. I definitely feel that way.
Let's talk about the patriarchy.
Ugh, my favorite subject. Just kidding. I think this movie was trying to show its weakness as far as like the weak in like to a further extent like the weakness of like patriarchy as a whole, which is like what capital like people like
Mhm,
compare it to or like tie it with capitalism and like you know how our society functions,
mhm,
because like they were showing how like some of like a lot of the male characters were incompetent, like the judge, like he was an idiot, like come on, like the signs were there that this woman is taking advantage of people, but he's in a position of authority,
mhm,
so he kind of has tenure, so part of him like as long as it like looks good on paper, he probably doesn't give a fuck.
mhm.
And two, like she's a woman, she's probably not doing anything wrong. She's a caretaker, like that's her job. She's a caretaker, she is in the correct position. Well, I could get real meta with it, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But it just goes to show like the underestimated value of women in society, and how like people in positions of power, men specifically, can like think they can brush it off. Meanwhile, you know that that doesn't work. That shouldn't, I mean, that's how it's working now, but like it needs to be dismantled. Not in like a violent way, like I'm not like done
No
with the
question mark.
patriarchy
It
and like
needs to be
burning.
dismantled.
Dismantled, question mark. I'm like burning my bra in the background. Also, I think it's just a lot of like men under like the theme was essentially like men underestimating women in this movie.
Yeah.
Because like the judge kind of underestimates like the motives of this caretaker even after the lawyer had present the mother's lawyer, the guy in the white suit, he was hilarious. He presents like all this like legitimate evidence, not a lot of legitimate evidence, but like an affidavit saying like this doctor is fucked up, like she's pawning off patients to Marla. She never like I was never given her access to her, like, and
Mhm.
like the loopholes that like Marla was able to find. But even then the judge was like, no, 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 like this is Marla, like I know her, like she's just a sweet woman
Mhm.
who wants to take care of old people, like she loves old people, like she's such a good caretaker, like no, you're dumb. Also, Fiona fucking sucks because she, I don't know, lied. She hates the doctor or whatever. And then the doctor gets murdered. And I'm sure the judge was like, wow, that's sad. Like he wasn't like, like this rings a bell.
Yeah.
No. So, the judge underestimates her. Peter Dinklage underestimates her. Like he kind of should have, because like who was she compared to him? But at the
Mhm.
same time, didn't really even consider like any sort of actual peace offering with her. Like she did have a legal like vice grip on his mother.
Mhm.
So, and his best lawyer couldn't get her out. So like at some point you got to be like, what's got to give.
Mhm.
Um but he still underestimated her and he still brushed her off as like, you know, an illegitimate threat. And she kind of came out of the woodwork, although like I said, I didn't appreciate all the bullshit that she somehow managed to pull off, but she did. um and like kicked his ass.
Mhm.
um
It's kind of like it's kind of interesting because yeah, like you're 100% right. It's kind of like all the men in this movie are just really dismissive and underestimate her, and it's kind of showing the like weakness in like men in positions of authority over women, um that they will dismiss them or they will underestimate them, whatever. But then also we have Marla who's like taking advantage of that, like, and using it to her advantage. Like she's using their perception of like progressive culture,
mhm,
like I'm not like the judge, you said, like
mhm,
she's a woman, so he doesn't want to like doubt her and her
right,
work because he wants to, give her credit or whatever. He's not gonna double check anything or like doubt anything she says because she's a like white feminine woman who um you know has given no outwardly reason for him to doubt her, but real in
right.
reality she's taking advantage of his like unwillingness to like double check and like make sure that she's not taking advantage of the system,
Yeah,
um which I think is interesting. It's kind of like a like everyone's wrong on both it's a both
yeah,
sides argument that I can agree with at this point.
yeah, because
um
it's definitely, I agree with what you're saying. She's definitely playing to
mhm,
the advantage of like of the situation she's in, the patriarchy she's
mhm.
in, because she's like, oh, like he just thinks I'm some like innocent woman who just wants to help old people, and I can play that to my advantage. Like she did it flawlessly,
I care a lot.
um I she cares a lot, y'all, um about her bank account anyway.
And I mean, we see that when at the very beginning when the like MAGA guy comes up and is like, bitch, like I hope you get raped and murdered, blah blah blah, like saying all these things that are typical from somebody whose masculinity is
Threatened.
questioned or threatened, I guess,
Yeah.
by a woman in power.
Hmm.
It's kind of like the opposite. It's like the judge in a position of power like doesn't necessarily dismiss Marla, but
Hmm.
he doesn't want to threaten her. Like he doesn't he's already in a position of power and doesn't need to question her.
Hmm.
Whereas like this guy who is like in direct like consequence of her power can't handle it and therefore reacts the way he does.
Right.
She's like, oh, it's because I'm a woman and it's because blah blah blah. Like, it's like, I mean, he's using that as a way for him to deal with his anger, but you also kidnapped his mom and like are manipulating the situation. He knows that you're manipulating the situation, but he also doesn't know how to like get out of it. So he's using his toxic masculinity to deal with his anger.
Yeah.
It's like a whole convoluted thing, and I don't know. I really liked it. I was like, because that's I don't know. She's
It's a
using,
swirling mess.
it's because I'm a woman, I'm doing something wrong. It's like, no, you did something wrong. You can't just say it's because I'm a woman that he's upset. Like what he said was not right, obviously. Spitting in a woman's face and saying that they should be raped and murdered, that's never okay. But that's not like the entire interaction between the two of them was like it was dancing around the actual problem the entire
Yeah.
time.
It's like, have you seen that movie Idiocracy?
No, but I've heard lots about it.
So yeah, there's like this one scene where it's like you can't argue it's stupid because
Mhm.
like there's this one scene, you know, the idiot like future people are watering their crops with like essentially Gatorade.
Oh yeah.
Luke Wilson's like, "Why are you doing this?" And they're like, "It has electrolytes." And he's like, "No, they need water." And then he's like, and it just goes in circles because he's trying to explain to them why water will benefit the crops, but they're like, "No, the Powerade like has electrolytes. It makes plants grow."
Mhm.
So it was a bit like it's a very similar, a little more elevated, but very similar
Yeah.
situation.
And then, you know, at the end of the movie, when that same guy comes back and murders her, it's kind of
Mm,
saying, you know, like, doesn't matter how well you succeed as a woman in the patriarchal system, you take advantage of it and you rise up the ladder. Like, at some point, it's still a patriarchal system, and the toxicity of that system will, you know, win in the end.
yeah, it'll
So,
catch up to you.
thought that was kind of cool. I mean, it's not cool, but, you know.
Not cool, guys. Not cool that she got murdered.
Yeah. In her white suit, as if she's like, you know, this innocent little angel,
Angel. Yeah. Ugh.
blood stained.
And the oh my gosh, and the shots of like the left hand pressing over her like bleeding wound. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts? I think we can probably start to wrap up
No,
our review, but do you have any other thoughts on the movie?
no other thoughts. I mean, I think the characters were well crafted. Um and like as we kind of said, like it started out really strong and promising. It was just when like all the really crazy shit started to happen, it kind of lost me and I was like, okay, you know, a little bit of a reach. But
Yeah.
essentially message received as far as what the movie was trying to get across.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you think you'd ever watch it again?
I mean, I wouldn't be like forced to. Like if somebody was like, "Hey, I've never seen this movie, you want to watch it?" I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." But if I was on my own, like trying to find something to watch now, I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, I think overall I thought it was entertaining. I think we agree on most of the flaws. I've seen it like 3 times now, so I probably don't need to watch it again. Watch it again.
I think
Um,
that's a good round number.
yeah. But yeah, everyone in the movie did a great job.
Mhm.
Um okay, before we go, I did want to talk about the aesthetics of the movie, like how it
Mm.
looked, how it was shot.
Mhm.
Do you have any specific thoughts on that?
Um, no, because I'm not a movie person. But
Okay.
the one part that I thought was cool, like as far as
Mhm.
like I don't know, like editing,
Mhm.
lights, was when she was escaping the car and it
Yeah.
was like flashing and like she'd swim and like flash and then she'd like try and break the window. Like that sequence was like it kind of showed like I don't know. I'm reaching here because like I said I'm not a film expert, but like it kind of showed her like desperation, like because she held her breath for a long time. Like you'd be blacking out, literally be blacking out at that point. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what it was trying to get across, but I was like, oh, got it.
I think that was actually a sequence that I didn't like, funny enough.
Ooh.
Because of what you just said, like it was a little too long.
Yes,
Um,
that's true. It was too long.
it was a little bit too long, and the reason that, from what I'm gonna assume here, they're building suspense, right? Like
Hmm.
we're like, oh my gosh, how did they were using the blackouts as a way to kind of like move us forward progressively
Hmm.
in time as she's escaping, and also building the suspense because like what's gonna happen. But the pauses were a little too long. The
Hmm.
clips were a little too long.
Hmm.
So it kind of just felt choppy and like unfinished to me.
Mm.
Um, and the suspense it was kind of lost for me.
The other sequence I liked was when they were like tearing apart Jennifer Peterson's house and like getting the auctioneer, like getting the appraisers in to like look at the house, to look at the furniture, clearing out all our drawers. And then they're like so hot for each other, like knowing that they had just ripped off this like woman for
Yeah.
probably millions, that they're like tearing each other apart in the
Yeah.
stairwell. Like that made me, I was like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think overall I really liked the like poppiness of
Hmm.
this movie. It's very colorful, it's very bright, it's very like it's like candy kind of. It's
Hmm.
very like sweet to look at, nice to look at. Um, but everything that we're actually looking at is like awful,
Hmm.
like the context of what we're looking at is like corrupt and bad and like not good. But
Evil.
it's kind of like the contradiction of like the movie. It's like everything, we're supposed to look at it and we see something pretty and nice, but in reality it's like still right in front of us. Everything about it is bad,
Hmm.
like I think it just works with its its message, it's everything it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Thanks for the validation,
On
Madeline.
board. You got me. You've convinced me. I agree.
Cool. All right. Well, we can probably wrap up here. Yeah, I'm excited for next week's movie. I hope you're ready.
I'm never ready, but let's do it anyway.
Yeah. All right. So this was our review of I Care a Lot. If you liked what you hear, you can find us on Instagram at Another Picture Show, or on Twitter at Another Pic Pod. We are on YouTube, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that jazz. So hopefully we'll see you next week with another movie review. Madeline, have a good night.
You as well, Olivia. You
Awesome.
are a dear friend and I love you.
Oh, I love you too. And we love you.
Now
So,
give me $10 million.
all right, bye.
Oh.